Alright, so I wanted to go on ahead and make a video about how I made Blood's Pretty animation wise and just my thought process behind it, since I think that a few of you would have found that interesting, and I mean like a very few of you, so this is probably going to be members only. If it's not, then oh well, and become a member anyway so you can watch videos early and see extra ones. So anyway, how I made Blood's Pretty animation. So one, the idea phase. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with it. Then I decided to make it a resolve animation so it looked more official, and I have experience in it, though I just considered making an animatic sketch version, but I didn't think that that'd be as impactful as the more official looking style. So I really do like that I went on ahead and spent the time making the resolve animation, because I think if it was just some sketches in like a digital program or the really cruddy sketches that I created, sure, I would have saved time, but it would definitely not at all hit the same. It would not at all be as awesome, and it wouldn't feel like a real short film. So I decided to go in and use my skill and go for it. But you know, depending on the kind of, this doesn't always have to be you. You don't have to always go for the most official looking kind of thing. It depends on how much time that you have for one, and it depends on your project. Like let's say for example you're making something more comedic. I don't think that you need to make a more official animation unless like you're really using slapstick or timing, or the visual timing really is important. Okay, so 2, writing what happens. I had to write what was going to happen so I'd know what I'd be working with. It's impossible to just wing an animation, especially one intended to disturb people like Blood's Pretty. Can't wing it. It's impossible to wing something like this. I had to pre-make all the assets, everything like that. So 3, sketches. This can differ for different people on how detailed the sketches are or how many you make, but I decided to just make sketches for each and every scene that I thought would be necessary, though I didn't make too much since due to the nature of a resolve animation, I'd be reusing assets very frequently. Okay, so this versus frame by frame, I don't have to redraw something with frame by frame or change an aspect of it or anything, or go to like a now look, it does look less smooth than a frame by frame animation. Yes, it does look a little cheaper than frame by frame, but it still looks pretty freaking good. Not gonna lie, I think that Blood's Pretty still looks pretty freaking good. And with the sketches, I went back into the program that I draw with and I just sketched over it again to really get the detail right, because the sketches were very bare bones. I'm probably showing them on screen right now for voicing the lines. This is for timing's sake, so that I'm not just totally feeling it out once I'm animating. It doesn't mean that the voice acting is gonna be in the end product, since it wasn't, and I'm not a good voice actor or anything, but it was necessary. With a product like this, or I say product, with a project like this, I need to know, I can't just feel out like when somebody's going to say something while I'm animating it. It makes way too much sense to just make voice acted versions of the lines, just so I know the timing of when people would say things.
Up early today, Ren. You can sleep in today, you know.
It's the 27th, right?
And I saw a few people being like, oh, this line was too fast, but I was basing it off of my voice acting of when it would feel right for a character to say something, or you know, that I was basing it off of that timing. Now I think that in the future I could definitely slow it down like I did with the first part, which is slowed down by like 25%, so that people can more easily read it. But I personally was able to read it. I guess it's because I'm a quicker reader than most people or something like that, or just most people that watch videos like this. I was able to read it pretty fast, but I don't know. But just because you voice act it for timing's sake does not mean it has to be in the end product. I'll talk about how I made the sounds for the people talking in this animation later, because it's not from Undertale, it's not from Animal Crossing. I created those. So 4.5 to setting the aspect ratio. I decided that a 1000 by 1000 or just 1 by 1 aspect ratio would be fine. It makes it so I don't have to zoom in often, since everything feels so mushed and slightly more uncomfortable. Okay, so that's basically because I'd have to edit less in post after I create the actual thing. There are barely really any edits aside from timing wise and little stuff like that. Plus I think old Pretty Blood did this from my memory, and I like it more in a meta sense, since it feels more like a weird old internet ARG or cartoon you might have stumbled upon 10 years ago, like Salad Fingers or something. By the way, I never watched Salad Fingers. I might watch that and review it one day, who knows. 5, creating the assets. Resolve doesn't have a drawing feature, so I went into Fire Alpaca and simply created all the aspects I used within Blood's Pretty. I think this took the longest, which shows how quick animating in Resolve is once you do have everything. All of this was me resketching and making my previous sketches look good on a 19 by 20 by 1080 aspect ratio generally, though some like this Walmart were like 300x by whatever. So I made the backgrounds really big so that I could zoom into them and move them around and use them way extra than it's basically so I didn't have to like make a whole different scene. Like for example, that Walmart thing, that was literally just me reusing the Walmart asset that I had and just zooming into that area. But because the Walmart image was so big, none of the like detailed data, it didn't get like pixelized or anything like that, if that makes any sense. Again, it didn't get all fuzzy. So 6, this is the longest section that I have here, and I will be reading this from here on out. It's been a pretty short video, but anyway. 6, actually animating. Now I use everything I pre-created and in the not animation, you guys need to note this. DaVinci Resolve is not an animation program, but editing software, DaVinci Resolve. I've had almost half a decade's worth of experience with this program, and I've been animating in it for 2 years, so here are some things that I did in it. So here are my tips. This is an editing program. This is not actually an animation software, which might seem pretty strange to you because this doesn't at all function like any animation program, or it's not like Krita, it's probably not like Flip a Clip, it's not like any of that. So you're just gonna have to learn Resolve a bit on your own, or just already have some experience with it. This is not a Resolve tutorial video. I'm just explaining to you how I created it in Resolve. So I use the replacement tool a lot. The replacement tool requires you to right click on a layer to make it a V1, which I probably will show in this video. You have to be looking at the screen. From there, you can choose an image from your image spotter, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. I just use the program, okay? Click the button and the image you want replaced will be replaced. This is useful because the replaced image retains all the keyframes of the image you're replacing. This is only useful if your eyes asset, for example, are drawn over the head asset in whatever program you drew with. If the eyes asset have a different aspect ratio, or if they're apart from the head image, it won't work, and you'll waste time on keyframing the eyes when it's unnecessary and will certainly look worse. I'll definitely be putting examples of what I mean on screen so this is more clear, so you don't just have to visualize this in your head. Basically, you have to draw the head, put it in its own file like aspect ratio, and then draw the eyes on top of that head, make the previous layer, which was the head, invisible, and then save the eyes like that. That's how you have to do it. A lot of this was tediously animating each and every part. All I'm relying on is Resolve's keyframing ability so you can interpolate animation. A computer is doing a lot of the work here, and to be honest, it simply takes a lot of getting used to animating in Resolve or smoothly animating things in it to get it right. Another important tip though is that moving your anchor point is always important, like moving the anchor to where the shoulder would be for your arm or the top of the leg for the leg helps with making the animation look better, since from there it'd be easier to animate. Plus, due to how this works, I start with the head first each and every time. This is because the head controls everything else and it should move whenever anything else is supposed to, so it'd probably have the most animation. Again, I can't stress it enough, Resolve isn't actually an animation program, and a lot of this is tedious. There's no rigging, no bones, no nothing here. You need to know that. There's no rigging at all. So there's no parent and child relationship where the shoulder is going to move the rest of the arm or anything. There's no neck where it's parented to the head so that everything on the head moves whenever the neck moves. There's none of that. You have to move the head independently of the neck, you have to move a shoulder independently of the shoulder, and that's why I think this wouldn't really work too well for more complex animation. But yeah, no rigging, no bones, no nothing here. I personally like that freedom, and it's definitely faster than frame by frame or having to rig an avatar or whatever. But that's the thing though, I feel like it's faster than having to learn how to rig an avatar or whatever, even though that's not the hardest thing to do in the world if you're just doing a 2D program or you're like 2D animating or whatever. And I think the barrier to entry is probably like, just because of that, I think the barrier to entry is probably a little lower for this. That would be my guess. But this is a powerful editing program, not an animation one. Resolve basically never crashes though. That's one of its best qualities, but I still do say that you should save as much as possible, as if it could, just in case. And that's pretty much how I made Bloods Pretty when it comes to the animation. Things like the writing or sounds are more complex, but I'll briefly explain my decisions there too. Sound-wise, I wanted to go for something unrecognizable but realistic so nothing can take you out of the atmosphere. This is why I made Rinny, Maggie, and Mitch's talking sounds instead of reusing Undertale or Animal Crossing ones. They're all from songs people within this community wouldn't know anything about, like Highways for a While for Rinny,
I am going away for a while. I'll be back, don't try and follow me. I'll return as soon as possible.
Bear One Boss's Cannonball,
What happened? Hot dragon.
and Drake and Future's Too Sexy for You.
I'm too sexy for this too sexy.
Okay, let me also add this part. I also in the car I also use some music from an album called Before Sunset by F Golden, because F Golden has less than 200 listeners on Spotify. Nobody knows who he is, and the music from that album fits the vibe I was going for. Alright, so there you go. That's why I used F Golden's Before Sunset. A lot of it was just feeling out what felt right, and that first part of what felt right came with the writing. I think you know you're making something solid if even you are affected by it. Before Blood's Pretty officially publicly came out, I was so disturbed by it that I didn't even want to watch the finished product the night that I made it. Mitch's scream and the cutting sound actually genuinely bothered me, and that's when I knew that this would be solid. And I would also like to relate this to Five Nights at Freddy's, with Scott Cawthon actually having nightmares about Bonnie when he was making the game. Do you know how freaking good your thing has to be if it scares the author? And that's clearly why Five Nights at Freddy's was so damn successful. You gain this kind of feeling, whenever you get better at writing. I think that that's just the case, and there's no real tips I can give you to get better at writing, because this is just an experience-based thing. I think you just gotta take in a lot of media and then make a lot of things in order to get here. To get here, I've already made a lot of different stories. I've already studied writing a lot, and I've already watched a lot of pieces of media to get to this point to where I can feel like something is disturbing, and it is actually disturbing. At least that's my personal opinion. If you didn't think Blood's Pretty is disturbing, then okay, go on ahead and tell me why. If you're making something serious, funny, disturbing, or anything, and it doesn't affect you in the way you want your audience to feel it, then it probably isn't very good and needs some work. It also helps if you can explain why you made every single decision in your work, be that a character's actions or dialogue wise, and it helps if those reasons aren't totally obvious. Maggie and Rinny argue because Maggie both loves Rinny since she's his wife, and because they have a toddler, as we see before the argument with what's on the wall and what's on Nappy's door. Mitch keeps asking Rinny about her age because he's a kid that's interested in what she can do since this is so new and grown up to him, and Rinny can't do what she's about to do with her family because it's both violent and a sexual thing that she of course doesn't want to share with anyone. All of these things make sense, and they all add on to what I'm going for. It starts off uncomfortable with the argument at the start. It's disturbing how Rinny is hesitant about Mitch and how she's exploiting Mitch for his naivety, and it's creepy how coldly she disposes of his body and lays next to her husband once everything is over. Nothing I did in this cartoon was a worthless move, and that's how you gotta think about writing too. Nothing can be for nothing. That's basically my mindset on how I made Blood's Pretty. If you have any questions in the comments, lay them on me, but otherwise, go watch my other stuff. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, I bless you, and goodbye. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and give a few closing thoughts. I think that Blood's Pretty works. I personally think Blood's Pretty works a lot too because of the art style. The art style is like, because of the art style, you're kind of surprised at how disturbing it is. It's like a juxtaposition to what you may expect before first going into it. Now, of course, that's mostly the intent. I'm walking away right now because it changed the thermostat because now it's too freaking cold in here. I think that the art style is a good juxtaposition to what actually happens in the show because it's so damn grounded. There's like not a single joke at all, and it's fully disturbing and realistic despite the art style looking like the way that it does. And I think that works. It's kind of like Agretsuko. I'm referencing Agretsuko a lot in my videos recently, aren't I? But it kind of is like Agretsuko because you look at that show, it's mostly comedic, but it's able to be serious at times. Like in season 4 when Haida was doing the window dressing and lying for the company's name, and when he got more serious, it's able to have those more serious elements because of other things that don't have to do with the art style, like the good characterization, the character relationships, and how realistic everybody is, and how realistic and grounded the general situation is. We don't see anything crazy happening in Agretsuko. And similar is true with Blood's Pretty. It's very mundane, it's very grounded, and in that way, despite the art style, you're able to take it more seriously if you're not a kind of person where an art style is going to let you ruin the experience of whatever you're watching. I think that that's why Blood's Pretty works, because of the vibe that it gives you and because of the writing style that I decided to go with. If I do continue it, it's going to continue to have this exact vibe, and I'm going to take it in not necessarily wild directions, but directions you might be able to see coming, because it's not necessarily going to be a wild, crazy world. Rennie's a more realistic, not down to earth, but more realistic serial killer type. But that's all I wanted to say. That's it for extra notes. Watch my other videos, as I said. Hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you actually got something useful out of this one. My members, maybe public audience, I don't know. And goodbye.